You're listening to the Journey podcast. What if the key to a drama-free life lies in mastering your own emotional landscape? Stay tuned for an incredible discussion in today's episode. This episode contains adult subject matter, and some listeners may be triggered by this content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. Join us today in this illuminating episode as we navigate the fascinating terrain of breaking free from drama. Our guest, a highly skilled breakthrough coach, brings insights into the dynamics of the drama triangle and how it often ensnares us in patterns of conflict and chaos. Through our engaging conversation, we delve into practical strategies and transformative perspectives that can empower us to step into the center of the drama triangle and into a life of greater alignment and peace. As we explore the concept of living a drama-free life, we highlight the profound potential for personal growth and self-discovery. Our guest shares valuable insights that can help us recognize and transcend drama, ultimately allowing us to lead lives that are more authentic and harmonious. This episode invites you to embark on a journey of self-awareness and empowerment, where we uncover the keys to breaking free from drama and embracing a life of greater balance and serenity. Susanne Frandsen's number one passion is to co-create heaven on earth. She is MS in strategic management, holds a degree in business psychology, and has 15 years of experience from the corporate world as KAM, management consultant and professional board member. She also has a lot of holistic training. Since 2010, she successfully has used it all to build the bridge between the old performance-driven lifestyle business culture to the new sustainable passion and purpose-driven lifestyle business culture. We are in the midst of birthing the new individuals and organizations. Susanne is a change enzyme, catalyst, and obsidian knife in this process, where she cuts to the bone in all problem areas in a way where the blood loss is minimized and the healing process is sped up, whether it be physical, spiritual, or organizational well-being. When we know better, we can do better, and it starts from within each individual. Let's meet Susanne Frandsen. Hi, Susanne. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because breaking free from drama is such an interesting space for holistic healing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Petra. I'm so pleased to be here.
Yes, me too. It's my pleasure. And this is actually a topic that we have never really discussed in depth on the podcast. So I'm very much looking forward to having this talk with you today. Now, do you want to share a little bit about yourself and your own story and how you came to do what you do today so listeners can get a bit of an idea of who you are and what you do?
Well, I usually say that by now I feel like I've been living 5 lifetimes in this one. So I will try to make it short, but I have a corporate background and I worked in sales and leadership and board member. And simultaneously, as this path of mine, I was waking more and more up to this holistic and spiritual path that I've been at since I was 15, I think. When this sentence came to me, we're all one. And that has been a guiding line for me ever since, because I've been asking myself, so if this is true, who should I be right now? So that has been something I have always had in the back of my mind living. Although you should not think it, because privately I've been through 3 marriages and divorces. Drama. Yeah, I know drama. I've been experiencing a rape situation as well back in 19. a bankruptcy. My family doesn't really want to see me anymore, my parents and my sister. There is your portion of drama, I think, although it has been not that dramatically for me because it has come from a place of alignment within me and a willingness to let go of what didn't serve me any longer and invite things in that did. At some point after 13 years in the corporate world, I sprung out as a breakthrough coach and an author. I've written 2 books, one for adults and one for children, to help people master this personal leadership, because that's what life is all about in my perspective. So now I help individuals and children as well, and organizations to transit from that old work paradigm, performance paradigm into the more passion, purpose paradigm. So that is where I come from now. And I just love the unraveling process because I've been the teacher living the teaching. So that's why I'm here to help others do it. Maybe a shortcut.
Yeah, that makes sense. And thank you so much for sharing your story. And I am listening to you as you're going over the things that have happened. And it's absolutely incredible that the kind of things that come out when we actually start moving into alignment and let go of the things that no longer serve us. A lot of things change, and some of them not so pleasant as we align with ourselves. So what does that drama that starts happening when we go into this alignment, what does that tell us? What does that tell us about our lives? Or does that mean there's something wrong with us when that starts happening? Or what does that mean?
No, in my perspective, it means we talk about people who are equal, meet up with each other. And to me, that's energetic, magnetic meeting that we have an encounter. And when we when we unravel the pieces of our mind, let go of limiting beliefs and release depressed emotions and leave trauma and shocks behind, what you actually do is you step up in your frequency. So you're no longer a frequency match to the people anymore, with the exception if they say yes to the invitation that they always get. Do you want to step up with me? If the answer is no, they have to leave your field because you're no longer resonant. And yes, although my journey might suggest a lot of drama, it has actually been, I think, as drama-free as it could possibly have been. Because you don't have to move into drama to let go of what doesn't serve you anymore. You can actually do it another way.
Yeah, that's a good point. I am curious, as you are sort of up leveling the frequencies and you're moving into alignment and you're growing and you're expanding, letting go of the things that no longer serve you can be painful. But for you, you said it was relatively drama-free. So what are the feelings that are involved as you're going through this process? Do you feel that there's a sense of healing, a sense of change? Are there actually positive emotions that are involved in this whole process as well?
I talk a lot about following our inner GPS. And when it feels heavy and contracted, it's either wrong way or wrong thinking about the situation. Life is actually meant to feel light and easy and be like water, follow the path of least resistance and most joy. It's a surrender. It's a surrendered state that you step into, and you can only do that fully if you sort of lean back into trusting that life is not happening against me, but happening for me. So to the extent you can dwell into trust and not argue with reality, because if we argue with reality, we lose, but only 100% of the times. But so many insist on arguing with reality, and there comes drama. If you let go and let God, some people say, life will prove to you that something even better will take place in your life. Because there are 2 things in this universe. There's space and things in space. So if you remove things you have in your space that feels contracted, you leave a place open for new things feeling better to flow into your field of reality. But I know this is, for many, it's just a mental construct, and people can agree upon, I can trust life, I can trust this universe. But if you do not have that experience on a cellular level, it becomes hard and you need help to release that trauma that still resides in your body for you to step into ease. Because we have so many sayings, at least in Denmark, where I come from, like if you said A, you should also say B. Okay, so if I made one shitty decision, should I keep doing it? Also, don't jump the fence where it's lowest. Excuse me, isn't it stupid to jump it when it's highest? We have so many sayings suggesting that we should stay in drama. We should stay in a painful place. There's a lot of unlearning to become more free and step into a higher flow where you just let go of things that doesn't serve you anymore. Because you can know for a fact, if something is right for you, it's also right from others. And if you stay, you might be even the one being codependent on whatever is not harmonic, that dysfunctional relationship of yours. So you're doing not only yourself a big favor, but also the people around you a big favor if things indicate that it's time for you to let go.
Yeah, that's excellent explanation and diving into that a little bit deeper, because this might be a huge perspective shift for some people who have grown up in a paradigm, like you said, that dictates that life has to be hard and we have to suffer and there has to be pain for us to gain anything. No pain, no gain. There's another saying for that. I can imagine that there are many limiting beliefs and energetic blocks and mindset shifts that have to occur for some people to really move into that space. So yeah, that's very, very interesting. Now, when we talked a little while ago, you introduced me to the drama triangle, and I think that is super fascinating. So do you want to dive a little bit into the dynamics of that? And I will just let listeners know that we will be posting the images that Susanne has provided for the drama triangle in the show notes. So as we're talking about this, feel free to follow along on our site in the show notes as you're looking at the pictures that she has created for you.
I'll do my best to describe it so that you can visualize it. It's actually a very simple model. It's a triangle. You have 3 corners. You have 2 on the top and 1 in the bottom. And on your right-hand side, you have the savior. I'm a savior in my DNA. I think I was born a savior. Then you also, to your left, you have the persecutor. And at the bottom, you have the victim. This model describes every and any relationship that you have with others, but also with yourself, because it can also be an inner battle where you have parts of your personality playing the savior, parts of you being a victim, parts of you being a persecutor. So it's not only on the outside, but also mirrored back on the inside. Now, if we should double click that model to a level 2, what I would love for people to enter into is the middle of the triangle, because that is where the king and the queen of their own queendom and kingdom resides. Now, that is where you are 100% authentic and aligned. So there is a heart-brain coherence in the queen and the king. And this version of you is able to pre-sense, so what's calling for me from the future. So you always have a clarity around what is my next step. And you always feel at peace within you. Nobody around you can trigger you. So that is a good place to be in. But we have to walk a path to get there. So if you double click it, many of your followers might know of the law of attraction. And the law of attractions is about you being an unconscious or a conscious creator. Now, the victim is an unconscious creator. The queen and the king is a conscious creator. And everything within the quantum field has to be 0. That is the point of creation. In the middle of the triangle, that is where you're centered at this 0, the big 0, right? And since the universe is self-correcting and self-aligning always, it also has to be 0 on the lines on the side, right? So if you take the line between the savior and the victim, you could say that the savior is in a +1 position when it comes to the 0 point field. Now that is not 0. +1 is not 0. So when you are standing in this position, you become a frequency match to a victim, which is in a -1 position. -1 plus 1 is 0. Then the universe is satisfied. But there's a lot of drama. There is a trauma ping pong going on this side. So that is one example. If you step over to the victim and the persecutor line, you could say that the persecutor is a -1 position and the victim is a +1 here. -1 plus 1 equals 1. And the persecutor, an example could be somebody stepping all over people's boundaries. That could be a persecutor or a manipulator or a control freak of some sort. In the case with the boundaries, the victim position of that would be a person who has a hard time setting sound boundaries. So I become a frequency match to somebody stepping over my boundaries if I have a hard time setting them. And on the top line, the persecutor and the savior, there's also a -1 and a +1 game going on because it equals 0. One example could be these women who get very much in love with people sitting in prisons. Or in my case, I had a narcissistic boyfriend at some point. I wasn't aware of that until we broke up or shortly before that. But that is the energy exchange going on up there. The examples I mentioned here is people you meet on the outside. On the inside, you could have a savior, for example, a part of you that tries to protect another part of you. Maybe it could be you not being willing to step into your vulnerability. So there is a part of you that sets up a boundary for that. And the victim could be that part of me that says that it's everybody else's fault, that my life sucks. And the persecutor could maybe be a very hard inner critique going on in my mind. You could say that all your personalities, all your shadow sides are going on around the queen and the king, and they are positioned as a circle. Some is a victim, some is a savior, and some are a persecutor. And we say that you have up to 200 of these subordinates in your inner queendom or kingdom, right? So there are a lot of voices going on. In order for you to, at some point, enter into the big 0, you have to take a chat with each part of you. Whenever they present themselves in your inner dialogue, you have to be able to recognize, so where is this coming from in me? And how could I, for example, take a chat with that part of me that always points at others for being the fault of my mischiefs? And be interested in that part of me, because it is a part of me that has been split out, maybe at a very early age. What we are oriented towards as small children is what makes mom happy, what makes dad happy. We are actually on a quest on how can I maximize my love income in this family setting. The first time that I'm made wrong in emotional expression of mine, maybe anger, and if I feel that mom and dad start yelling at me or they just have small tics around the eyes, then this part of me will register this and translate it into, so when I'm angry, I get rejected out of this community that my family is. And that is actually biologically, that's very dangerous for us as a species because we cannot survive alone. So what we do is that we throw an anger right in that moment when we hit the 150 megahertz where anger is positioned, and thereby remember that next time I enter into this emotional state, energy, emotion, right? So next time I enter into this, I will have to step beside myself and maybe become pleaser or afraid of conflicts, or the good girl, or the over-responsible girl, or whatever it takes to still be accepted. In that process of ours where we tie ourselves up numerous places, we lose the contact to our inner GPS. So on our path back to the queen and the king, they have opened up the full access to all emotional states because that is our inner GPS. We need not to censor ourselves in order for us to get those early warning signals, the feeling of contraction or lacking flow or feeling heavy or tired or whatever, we need to feel that instantaneously instead of getting that morning wake-up call and then you have another divorce, right? Because me being absolutely 100% honest, in each and every one of my marriages, 3 marriages, I knew from the very beginning that we were not a good match. So there were parts of me that censored that feeling away. My path into the queen, or close to the queen, I think, was to untie all these knots I'd made on myself. And my experience was, and maybe some of the listeners can recognize, is that when your parents have a one feeling state, but they say they feel another way, then your inner GPS gets mixed up and you kind of decide, okay, I can trust my parents, but not myself. You're off track. You're off piste. And then the path back to being a queen and your king and your authentic essence, yourself, is to start unraveling these subordinates and really be the loving parent for that younger you in the now.
Yeah.
So that you don't depend on your mom or dad to make that healing work, because they did the very best they could with whatever they had with them, right? So that is the journey of moving yourself out of drama.
Yeah. Fascinating insights that you're providing here as you're explaining that. And I'm beginning to understand why many times we feel so restless, so torn, so confused, so disconnected. Because if we imagine 200 voices going on and pulling us in different directions, and us not finding that inner alignment, that zero, it gets busy and it gets confusing. And there are many, many things to address.
When I coach people, that is exactly what I do. I help people map out these inner voices that are most dominant in that period of time that they are in right now. And then I make the contra programming with the passion test I use as the reprogramming into your highest vision in order for you to move yourself more and more into zero, because that's where the breakthrough lies.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And what a great look at the drama triangle. And I encourage all of our listeners to have a look at the actual graphic that you provided so that they can understand how you map that out and they can have a look at that as well. What happens to yourself and your clients when they understand this drama triangle and they actually start moving to the zero position? They start working on that. They start aligning. What happens when drama leaves the relationships, leaves their lives? Do you notice any changes when that happens?
There are 2 versions of that. That is the energetic invitation to the other people being part of the drama, that they choose to step up as well. But I must be honest and say that that is very rare that it happens this way. It's much more likely for people to step out of whatever relationship. And usually it's very ordinary for people to step into a period of time, many years, maybe 2-3 years, of feeling alone and feeling like they don't have a peer group that they belong to. I usually describe it by, an old-fashioned radio where you turn the tuner to tune into another channel. Because what you're doing is that you're tuning yourself from one version of you into another. And in that period of time, it usually scratches. The sound isn't clear. So we have to be willing to live with that period of time, whatever long it might be, of that no longer and not yet. And use that time for yourself to really be your own best friend and your own loving parent. Because once you're in the zero, you have given yourself everything you needed. So what you might have wanted for other people to give you from the outside and in, become able to give yourself from the inside and out, moving from lack to abundance, recognition, love, care, whatever. And first, and when you're there, you become a frequency match to a relationship that will mirror that back. Otherwise, it's just you and me sharing things that we're not able to give myself, yourself. You can use those years to do that. And you will actually enter into a period of time where you say, I don't really need anyone. And by that time, you become a frequency match to a new peer group, but not before. It's counterintuitive in some way, but that's usually how it happens.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It makes perfect sense because as we grow and we change those frequencies on the dial, as you said, we do see some of the relationships fall apart, the divorces happen, people leave relationships or no longer talk to each other because they also, at that point, then have nothing more in common because that difference in frequencies becomes so great that there's nothing to talk about anymore. The lives so different. So I've observed that as well. That's a great explanation on why that happens. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for diving into the world of the drama triangle with us. I've really learned so much from you explaining that to us. Now, do you want to go over some of your programs and services so that listeners can get a feel of how they could connect with you if they found this episode intriguing and interesting and they might want to work with you? How can they get a hold of you?
I do one-on-one sessions online as well. So you could just reach out and you can find my website underneath, I guess, in the notes, susannefrandsen.dk. I also have a couple of free e-guides that you could just download and you will get into an automated system where I introduce some of the strategies into more detail, all for free. And you can also have a free 15-minute chat with me if you just need to check in chemistry and everything, whether I think I can help you with whatever you're in right now. But the toolbox I have is actually, it could be used on anything because it's laws of nature. It works on any problem. And we cannot solve a problem with the level of consciousness that created it. So consciousness is always, always, always the first step. It usually only takes one session for people to really have a breakthrough. It's a longer session than an hour. It might be 3 hours, but we will push that ego until it lets go of whatever is blocking.
Yeah, amazing. And we will be linking to all of Susanne's offerings in the show notes as well, as she mentioned. So you can find the links there on how you can get a hold of her. And we will also put the images of the drama triangle in the show notes for you.
I have an English children's book coming out on Amazon within a month. You can actually read some of my stuff there. It's called Sia and the Magic Stone, but it's not yet up and running, but I think within 4 weeks or so, we're ready. It's a way of teaching children this toolbox in an adventurous fairy tale way.
Yeah, I think that'd be extremely useful to, even as a parent, have a bit of guidance, how you can instill this in your children, how you can set them on that path to the king and queen and eventually coming into the center of that triangle. So
imagine the world that we have if we are at peace with ourselves.
Yeah.
Yep. Heaven on earth coming up.
Yeah. So we'll put a link to your children's book there as well. You can find that in Danish and English. And Susanne also has a book for adults as well, but that one is in Danish only, I understood, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll link to that. Maybe there are Danish people listening who'd like to have a link to that book. So we can link that as well for you. Amazing. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have enjoyed this journey into breaking free from drama as much as I have. As I said, I have learned so much in the past half hour from you, and thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and your knowledge and all these insights that you have on this topic and chatting with us on the podcast today, Susanne. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.